opportunity that we've had where we've had a large enough group committed to follow through on it. And I think it's in the best interest of everybody concerned to stick with this process and to make this transformation in our government work for us. Because I think up till this time, it has worked against us. The best way I can tell you, for those of you in business, government will be customer friendly. I think that's where we're attempting to get to. Now, there are those that say you can't run government like a business. They're going to have to. I'll have to prove that to myself, because I believe there's a lot of areas that we can do much better today in government than what we do. But it's going to take some time, and it's really going to take the commitment of all of us to stick with it. Let me end there if I could, and I'll just take a few minutes of questions if anybody's got any, and then I'm going to hit that trail to the Greensboro Airport. I'm going to be embarrassed if nobody asks a question. Well, if there are no questions, let me assure you, yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering if there is a possibility of backing away from the tournament. You read about this in papers or something. I don't know.
Understand that all 10 legislative areas of the contract said we were committed to make sure it was brought to the floor for a vote. I'm personally committed to term limits, so I've got a 10-year self-imposed limit. I will vote for term limits in the first 90 days. Many will in Washington. Unfortunately, I don't think there are enough that are going to vote for term limits that it's constitutionally going to change. And I still believe very strongly that we need them. We need term limits to clean up the campaign finance problem that we have in this country. If you read the one-cent paper this morning, it's made me a little sick. There was $2 million spent on the 5th District race this year. $2 million just for one congressional seat. In all honesty, that's ridiculous. I would love to see us limit the amount that can be spent on congressional races and be less concerned with where it comes from and more concerned with how much is spent, because I think therein lies a lot of problems. Yes, sir.
How does the new leadership feel about agricultural subsidies, price supports?
I think ag subsidies are probably going to be the hardest hit of any area, really in the whole federal program. And I tell you that from a broad standpoint. I know that most members of Congress ran from trying to be on the ag committee this year because I think that when you look at it, that's where the dollars are. That's where the available dollars to cut are. We can only achieve certain levels when we talk about consolidation of departments. We can only achieve certain levels when we talk about what's the long-term effects of welfare reform. There has to be spending cuts for us to achieve that balanced budget goal. And I think that agriculture stands to participate in a higher percentage of the way than other areas, just because there's quite a bit of money that goes into the subsidy program. Tobacco, certainly they funded their own subsidy program for the last, I think since 85 or 86, so I don't see much change to the stabilization program. Actually, I see life for the tobacco farmers and manufacturers getting a lot better with Mr. Billally heading that committee. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Richard, there's something that you and our two senators and the rest of the Congress needs to look at. There's not an awful lot of majority of people in the United States and right here in North Carolina that are really involved in agriculture one way or another. The fact of the matter is, most of us we are involved in agriculture 3 times a day. And the food industry is really being, agriculture really being hit. One of the things that you new majority needs to do, and that's to try to take food stamps away from agriculture and give it to some social program where it belongs. Because that's the biggest single item in the agriculture department right now.
Well, understand that
And it needs putting where it belongs and calling it what it is.
every committee has gone through not only a name change, but a jurisdictional change as well. We're not complete yet, because I think you have to get into the term before you really figure out where you can make those changes that make sense. But we eliminated 3 committees. We eliminated the Post Office Committee, we eliminated the DC Committee, we eliminated the Merchant Marines. These have all been absorbed into other committees, and it actually played to the great benefit of North Carolina, because Howard Coble is now on the Transportation Committee, and we didn't have anybody on transportation, and we need representation on transportation for some of the road problems that we've got in this state. So this actually played very much to the benefit, but I think as we go along, you're going to see the jurisdiction on certain things begin to change and consolidate in the areas that it makes sense that they be in. Because as you're right, a large part of the agricultural budget is in the food stamp program. Yes, sir.
Young man?
Yes, sir.
Have friends who are friends with other representatives elected as you, and the families are very much concerned for their safety. Has that been brought up in your family?
Their safety in Washington?
Yes, sir.
Washington's not a safe place. It's against the law to own a gun, but everybody's got one, and they use them with a lot of frequency. I think that we're all concerned up there, and I can only tell you that in my particular case, I chose to live a block away from my office so that I didn't even have to drive very far if I didn't want to. I think those that are senior members respect the crime problem that they have in Washington. We're more concerned in my particular case because my family will stay here, but they'll probably come up to visit about once every 2 months. And sometimes it's, if you're not there and you develop the habit of being cautious, it could be our families that are actually the victims. I think Bob Michael, the Republican leader who is just retired, Bob Michael's been mugged 3 times in the last 6 years in Washington. Now this is a senior member of Congress who usually has some type of security with him. But 3 different occasions he's been mugged. It's getting better, and the Capitol Hill police have become much better. But let me just say this, and then I do have to run. Think of what's going on in Washington. On a typical day in Capitol Hill, there's probably 150 or 200,000 people. We've started in the basement, and we're redesigning how we deliver the mail, how the police force protects us. We're redefining the job description of every employee there. We're talking about a cost analysis of space. We're talking about transforming everything in government. That's like going to Winston-Salem and saying, okay, in 8 weeks, we're going to give everybody a new title and a new job. We're going to redesign the way the Postal Service delivers the mail here. We're going to meet with the police force and come up with a new plan as to how they protect us. We're going to change the whole infrastructure and the way it works. And we're going to come out with a better product, and we're going to do it in 8 weeks. That's in fact a challenge that we've got in Washington today, is to make sure that when January the 4th comes, that the plan is a firm, common sense plan on where we'd like to get to, and that the infrastructure part of it, delivering the mail, police protection, that it's all in place, that it's all been worked out. So it's been a tremendous challenge, and for the shots that Newt Gingrich has taken and will probably continue to take, let me just say this. This is an individual that has matured more in 3 weeks than any individual I've seen in my lifetime. You may agree with some things, you may disagree with some things that he talks about. I think when all's said and done, he will represent the 104th Congress as Speaker very well. He's committed to the types of change. Will probably be in that position for some time, and I was delighted, as should Americans, to see him say that no speaker should be in office longer than 8 years. He's put a self-imposed term limit on himself as speaker, as we already have in the conference on committee chairs being 6 years and subcommittee chairman being 6 years. So we're going to build in the transition to make sure that generational Washington does have the opportunity to change. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody